Hi, Stefan Matalich here from Bounty Hunter Rare Wine and Provisions in Napa. I'm joined today by John Glazer of Compass Box Whisky, and we're chatting a little bit about some of these new products he has online with us. John, we'll start off telling the folks a little bit about the history, about where you come from.
Okay, well, despite my accent, I started this business 10 years ago. Grew up in Minnesota, but found myself in the UK 12 years ago working for a small Scotch whisky company. Which you may have heard of, no names, just initials, Johnny Walker. So that was a long time ago. But after spending several years in the UK and really getting under the skin of Scotch whisky, developed the ideas that formed the foundation of Compass Box, which I launched 10 years ago, October 10 years ago in October this year.
Where does the name Compass Box come from?
Well, I wanted a name, when you're an American and you're in the UK and you're starting a Scotch whisky company, and you come from a wine background and all you don't want to, call it Clan something or Glen something. So I wanted something distinctive. I wanted something that represented craft, and I've always loved these old antique compass boxes that ships would have carried compasses in, going back a long time ago, and that's where it comes from.
Interesting. So, everything you do is all blended whiskeys, both of grain and single malt. So,
yeah.
What's the passion with there? Where did that come from?
We blend. We are Scotch whisky blenders, no question about it. But we do things in a way that's much different than most of the blended whiskeys people know about from Scotland. We hand-pick casks individually. We buy whiskeys from about a dozen different distilleries across Scotland. So it's like a negociant business, if you will. We are fanatical about oak quality, because that is how you make great whiskeys, with aging in great oak. And our blending approach is about taking 2, 3, 4 component whiskeys and shaping something that's special, rather than 20 or 30 or 40, which is the approach within the industry. So it's a different philosophy around blending.
Interesting. So now we have 3 of your core products here. Maybe tell us a little bit about each of these.
Sure.
Start with Hedonism.
Hedonism was the first whiskey I bottled when I started 10 years ago. This is an unusual style of Scotch whisky. Even in Scotland, it's unusual to find a 100% Scotch grain whisky. That's what this is. I blend ages, from what some people might consider young to old. So in this particular batch, the 2009 batch of Hedonism, as we say here in this, it's between 15 and 29 years old, on average about 20. All from beautiful, high quality, what we call first fill American oak barrels. Grain whiskies are not well known. Everyone knows about malt whiskies. But grain whiskies, more grain whiskey distilled in Scotland than malt whiskey. Most of it goes into blended brands at young ages, from aged in not particularly good casks. These are gorgeous casks. And to me, that vanilla, a little bit of coconut character in that makes for me, grain whiskeys like this are the sexiest style of whiskey in the world. My personal opinion. So that's Hedonism, the grain whiskey. Peat Monster, our best-selling whiskey at the moment around the world. As the name suggests, heavy peated malt whiskey. This is 100% malt whiskey, known as a vatted malt or pure malt in the trade. Some companies now call them blended malt whiskeys. So no grain whiskey in this at all, but a blend of single malts, led by whiskey distilled in the Kalila distillery, and then complemented by two other malts. A little bit of whiskey distilled at the Lefroy distillery for complexity, and whiskey distilled at the Ardmore distillery to round things off. So heavy peated style, but quite a drinkable style. Spice tree, use of new French oak. We do something with new French oak aging that no one else does in Scotland. We have special casks made for us that we source directly from the Vosges forest in France. And that's a 12-year-old malt whiskey in the glass there. The last 2 years of which the whiskey's been aging in new French oak at 3 different toast levels, which we blend together. So something quite special, a flavor profile malt whiskey that no other malt whiskey has.
Well, as we discussed a little bit earlier, we're talking about stylistically across the board. You've really kind of captured the core of what Scotch whisky is, and really not try to hide that through sherry oak has some different flavoring components. You really kind of keep true to form, but just adding a little bit of oomph around the edges with different techniques, and it's a very impressive lineup. So I appreciate you spending the time with us today. Again, from Bounty Hunter Rare Wine and Provisions. Cheers.
Cheers.